Happy Mushoku Mondays, everybody. Welcome back to yet another Trek to Mushoku Tensei Drama's Reincarnation novel series. We're on volume 26, chapter 4, and things are finally cooling down. I can finally say cooling down, not heating up. Yes, as it seems like the battle is actually finally over based on the next two chapters that I read. I'm not sure if we'll get through both chapters like we typically do, just go as we go. If I dig into something, I dig into something. If I don't, I don't. But yes, as per usual, greatly appreciate it. Drop by for the premiere. Hey, chat. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday after Mushoku Monday. Greatly appreciate your guys' kind words, all your support. It means so much to me. Yes, as per usual, greatly appreciate by support channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships, all that stuff. Means a great deal to me. Sergio Donna with 22 months, almost that 2-year mark. Beto, 23 months, right there, really close. Shane with a super, thank you so much, Shane. It means a great deal to me. Soundwave with a new membership, thank you. Noah with a super, thank you so much, Noah, for your ongoing support, as well as Roy's Moist with that ongoing support. Thank you. Philip with a super, Bulbous with a super, and Pinino with a super. Thank you guys so much. It means a great deal to me. It's because of you guys this keeps going, keeps the lights on, all that stuff. But yes, with that said, we should just jump right into it because I think there's going to be quite a few things in here that are kind of answering some questions that I had for a long time. We finally got Aisha involved. We got to get Aisha involved. Like I said, the whole family's got to get involved. Got to get Aisha in there. Oh, by the way, she was working behind the scenes. Good girl over Aisha. But yes, Chapter 4, the end of the battle. A month passed. Reese was standing near the edge of the forest, in which lay the earthworm ravine. Around him stood simply constructed wooden houses. In a clearing where the trees had been cut down, a jumble of people walked this way and that. There were superb human carpenters and laborers hired from the Bahiro Kingdom, woodcutters, and the Rukwag mercenaries. Hey, big bro, can I get you to clear a few trees over on the eastern side of the forest? Yeah, no problem. Aisha was there too. She strode about the village and issued instructions. After getting her orders, the mercenaries were under the command of Linnea and Prasenna. It really did seem like she was a real leader of the company. We all knew that, Rudius. We established that a long time ago. She created the damn thing. She took off with it. She made it into what it was. You're just there as a figurehead, really is all it is. Rudius was working alongside them to rebuild the superb village, clearing trees with magic, then using earth magic to build foundations for houses and a road to the Earthworm Ravine. There was a lot to be done. That's interesting. They notice the fact that he is building specifically a road to the Earthworm Ravine. Why? What's the purpose of having a road to go there? People shouldn't be going there. I don't see any reason why they would be, unless they plan to, like, physically themselves move the stuff from the Earthworm Ravine or the village itself, the superb village, the old one, to the new one. I don't know why they would need it. I mean, there's already a road, technically, in some areas they mention, or pathways at least. One might be wondering why Aisha and the Rukwag mercenary band were running around, and why, when Alex showed up, no one was to be found except for Orsted. It was a short story. It was all Aisha's scheme. Well, scheme makes it sound like she was getting up to mischief. Let's just call it work. It's Aisha, it's fine to be in mischief. She's allowed to. It was all Aisha's work. When the teleportation circles and communication tablet stopped working, she and the mercenary band had been thrown into chaos. With their lines of contact with far-off nations cut off, unease and panic set in. Not for Aisha, though. She stayed calm, coolly assessed the situation. They were close to the border. If the fighting had begun, they wouldn't be getting there in time, and there wouldn't be much they could do. She concluded that, as there was a strong possibility that Geese might flee, they would work on getting teleportation circles running again. In other words, restoring infrastructure. Yeah, I'm not quite sure why she would come to that conclusion, that if Geese is going to flee, I have to set up contact. I guess the idea that they might flee somewhere else, but she's at the border. That's what she's supposed to be doing, to keep them from coming in there. I guess there could be multiple locations that he technically could flee through. It's not like there's a one choke point. So if there's a lot of segments or areas where he could get through, she would have to restore, communication so they can easily react if he's going to a northern location of the border rather than a southern. It makes sense. The trouble was that, in addition to teleportation circles, all the magic circles at the office that corresponded to the spare circles had been destroyed. There was nothing she could do. Reese felt that he would given up at that point. In fact, he did. He technically did. But Aisha had a brainwave. Her genius brain remembered that a certain individual had a secret technique. The technique that allowed one to draw a new magic circle corresponding to a teleportation circle, whose pair had been destroyed, and thereby travel to wherever he wanted to go. That person was none other than the armored Dragon King, Pedagus Dola. Yeah, I guess, and at some point, Rudius mentioned to her that he's done that, because that's what he's done. That's what they do up there. Whenever Rudius is, like, going up there and he's like, I need to go over to here, they would essentially make one of the circles down at the bottom of the castle correspond to something. It was like it was giving it new life, because these are all these circles that are elsewhere that's never being used anymore because they were connected to something else, but they were destroyed. But he's able to tap into them. So this circle over here in Mill's continent used to travel over to the demon continent. But at some point, that connection was destroyed. And so what he's able to do is up here, he's able to go, okay, let's just establish from here to here. This was point A, point B. Connection broke. Okay, new point A, new point B. So I'm guessing at some point he mentioned to her that's what he was doing whenever he went up to his castle, is he was establishing that connection, then creating a new circle there to go to the office. It makes sense that she probably picked up on that. To request his aid, Aisha hunted down a monument of the Seven Great Powers that was near the border. When she found it, she used a flute to travel to the floating fortress. Interesting that she has a flute. That was a massive question mark when I heard that. Now, it could be that when she went up there and talked to him before, in the past, he may have given her a new flute. It could be that they have more than one. Rudius has one. Zenoba has one. It seems like everybody has one at this point. But it seems like everybody that meets him, if he likes them, he'll give them a flute. I think that's pretty much what it is. Or maybe Savarl. Savarl's like, Predagus really likes Aisha. I like this Aisha. Because, I mean, Aisha was technically buttering up her too, if I remember correctly. I think Savarl liked Aisha. So I can see that. I think anybody that Pedagoose likes, Savarl like. And so she probably got a flute from her. So yeah, in the end, Aisha had a brainwave, and it's to actually use Pedagoos's help, Rudius, that I've been telling you this entire time. It's like everybody else asked Pedagoose for help, but Rudius. Pedagoose, knowing they wanted to help demons, was reluctant. But something about Aisha convinced him. That makes sense. I think that was sort of my thought process there that I was kind of getting around, was when I was originally saying, dude, talk to Pedagoose. Have him help get everybody out there. And then when Orchid said that, I had to ask a man for help. I knew it was Pedagoose. I'm like, but the problem there is that they're trying to help Superb. I think the workaround could have been, and it sort of gets into that later on in another way, that they're helping demons, but at the same time, they're defeating a demon. They're taking down Body Gotti. So it's kind of a plus and a negative there. You take down one, you save these others. But something about Aisha convinced him, because she's super freaking cute. Who was going to tell Aisha no? I'll link one up for you. Aisha chose to link the magic circle near the border with a teleportation circle at Superb Village. And that took us to where they were now. I'm impressed you got Lord Pedagoose to agree. Yeah, he really didn't want to. But then I told him Orsa would owe him a big favor for this battle, and he softened up. Owe him a favor. That's all it takes, is owing a favor. After that, while Ruiz was fighting, she traveled to Superb Village. After hearing what was going on, she used the teleportation circle to evacuate the residents and the others to a town near the border. It was a close one. If Roxy, after returning to Sharia, hadn't prioritized the ordinary teleportation circles rather than summoning the magic armor version 0, it would have all been for nothing. Luckily enough, Aisha had ended up covering up Roxy's mistake. Yeah, that part doesn't make much sense to me. I mean, it says if Roxy, after returning to Sharia, hadn't prioritized the ordinary teleportation circles rather than summoning the magic armor, it would have all been for nothing. Luckily enough, Aisha did, covering her mistake. Technically, Roxy, when she went there, she prioritized digging up the magic armor, getting a summoning circle underneath it, then getting back to the Superb Village, and then summoning over. She even said and apologized to Rudius, I should have just fixed the circles, that way you could have gone, and you could have moved all this stuff, and then you could have easily gotten it very quickly. It never really got into what Roxy did in order to transport. That was a massive question mark there. How did she get there? The assumption was that she essentially had to go there and fix the circle going to Sharia, get over there, put the summoning circle underneath it, then come back and summon it. It doesn't make any sense why she has a mistake here, unless it's the fact that she could have just set up this whole transportation, got everybody out, but don't worry, Aisha did that, so she covered up for her mistakes. It doesn't really make much sense. This could be a translation issue, a lost in translation issue. It was just how the cards had fallen. Roxy was still mortified about it. Which again, that's what she was originally. She's like, crap, I should have just set up the circles. But again, how did she get over there to begin with? Around here? Yeah, just chop them all down. Better make more space than less, right? Fair enough, I'm on it. Come when you're done, okay? I'll get the mercenaries to cart the wood away. Yes, sir. It had been a month since the battle. Ruiz stayed on alert, ready to fight, but the next battle never came. There wouldn't be another one. So Ruiz had Roxy, Sylphie, Zenoba, and everyone else head back to Sharia. Edis was kind enough to accompany their party under the title of bodyguard. The magic circle for summoning version 0 and the one used to evacuate had both been destroyed in Orsh's battle with Alec. So Rudius asked Petagus to send a decent portion of the party back again. Again, that was my original frustration with Rudius. I'm like, if you want to get people out of here, go to Petagus and have them send them home. And it was funny because a lot of people were going, you can't do that because Petagus is not there. There's your answer. For everybody that was yelling at me for saying that over and over again, it literally says it right there. Petagus sent party back. I mean, the logic made sense, and it did bring up an interesting question mark, was how close does Petagus have to be into a certain location to send? It gives the impression that no matter where people are at, he can pull them there. But yeah, the question mark would be, can he send people? Or does he have to be above a location? But it never implied that. It has never implied that he has to be anywhere near somewhere. Those who return would work on rebuilding the office, restoring communication and circles. Apparently, nothing happened in Sharia. Even the elf girl was safe and sound. Yay, she made it. I mean, it implied that she was hurt, other than being tumbled around. The worst of the damage was the weapons and armor kept under the office were buried, along with detailed documents Orsted and Rudius had written out every day. The evacuated superb villagers connected back up with the magic circle in the second city, and returned from near the border. After that, Berhil Kingdom officially welcomed the Superb. The kingdom was happy to accept them as citizens. It probably helped that, after losing the third city and the ogre god... When I read that, it was a gut punch. It was like, yeah, okay, so they accepted the superb villagers. Oh, yeah, they lost this. That's why they... Ogre god dead. Damn it. It sucks. And, you know, there was a side of me that kind of felt that was coming. Again, back when we were getting kind of an update on what everybody was doing, it was like, Toph over here is like, her whole body's blown up, but I'm like, she's an immortal demon. She's going to come back. It's fine. You know, yeah, it looks like Moore is kind of running away. Yeah, I got that. And then it goes to the ogre god, and it says, he's bleeding out so much. If he doesn't get healing, he will die. The healers have left. They're gone. Ogre god's dead. Unless it's a fake out, it's death. So I kind of seen it coming that at least the ogre god would die. Still sucks. They weren't in a position to say no. They did set one condition, which was that to facilitate taking in the Superb, a minimum of 3 Superb would be sent from the village to serve the kingdom. This is how it had been to establish peace with the ogres, apparently. Those 3 envoys have been chosen and were now working towards restoring the village. If the restoration continued without any problems, the Superb would have a home in Berhil Kingdom before long. Reese's side had defeated the disciples and made the Superb, ogres, and kingdom their ally. They'd won, but could this be really called a victory? I mean, compared to the alternatives, yeah. Master Rudius. Oh, Sander. Yes! After just finding out that the ogre god is dead, hey, Steve Sander, yes! My boy Sander's alive. Dude, I was so freaking happy. When I read that, big freaking smile on my face. I was so freaking happy. My Sander's alive. After death flagging him so many damn times, Refugin, you suck. Freaking Refugin is damn flagging. Ugh. What, 3 fake outs? 3 fake outs? Oh, Sander. As Rudius was cutting down the trees and lost in thought, Sander appeared behind him. That advanced swordsman. Sneaky. He wasn't alone. Ghislaine, Isolde, and Doga were with him. Sander had come back around 10 days after the battle ended. Not only had the fighting god dealt him a mortal wound, he'd also been thrown into the ocean. He somehow managed to drift to the Ogre Island. Dude, he was almost going to have the same fate as we find out with Etoph. There, he took some time to recover. It was impressive that he had taken on the fighting god and made it back alive. Yeah, after flagging him so many times too. Only when Rudius saw him, he looked uncomfortable. Rudius guessed that maybe, when he went by the name of the North God Kalman, losing in and of itself was an embarrassment. But maybe it had nothing to do with that. And he was embarrassed because he had been acting like such a big shot all this time. I know. I think really probably what's going on with Sander right here is that he was accepting death. That was his last call. Again, it was flagging him. This is going to be my stand. I'm going to be just like Dad. This is what the non-hero does. I'm going to go out there and go down in history not being in history. That little blurb of somebody else was with him, but we don't know his name. The unnamed hero that nobody ever acknowledges ever again. I think that's probably why he's embarrassed. I wanted to go down in a blaze of glory. That was my purpose. And I lived. I just washed up on shore somewhere and recovered. He could feel that he didn't help at all, too. He could have felt that he didn't help at all. You can also probably say it has something to do with the fact that the final battle and the reason why they technically lost was his son. He doesn't say anything about it, so I don't think that'll be the case. But he could be embarrassed because technically Rudius lost because Orsted had to use mana because of his son. Hey, what do you need? Oh, nothing. We're planning on return to Asra soon, you see? So we came by to say our farewells. Ah, right. Sander, thank you. We'd never been able to make it this far, if not for you. Please, it's Queen Ariel you owe your thanks to. Sure thing. Please tell Her Majesty to let me know right away if she ever runs into trouble. Tell her I won't hesitate to help. Very well. Sander, Doga, Ghislaine, and Isolde. Each one of them was at least king tier sword fighter. That made me question for a second. I'm like, that's right. Ghislaine's still not Imperial. It's like, geez, like Sander, again, is going to be North God. Doga's going to be Imperial. Ghislaine, King. Isolde, Imperial. It's like, come on, girl. This girl needs to go get her title already. She deserves it. Ruse couldn't thank Ariel enough for sending them such a powerful lineup. Even though she originally sent you an advanced tier swordsman in Sander and Doga. I'm never gonna let that go. I'm never gonna let that go. Yeah, it should say each one of them was at least advanced tier swords fighter. Thank you too, Ghislaine. Don't thank me. By the way, I'm thinking I'll come pay a visit to the grave. Understood. I'll be waiting. Ghislaine left at that. And you, Doga. I'd have died after falling in that ravine if you hadn't been there. So thank you. Uh-huh. If you ever have a personal favor I can do for you, please let me know. I want to pay you back for saving my life. Uh-huh. All Doga said was uh-huh, but he seemed a little sad to be parting. Poor Doga. Doga likes Rudius. I think Doga likes Rudius. I think a lot of it's just the fact that Rudius, like, was just kind of praising him so much. He's like, uh-huh, I helped you out. Okay, uh-huh. Old Doga. Thank you, Isolde. If you hadn't stood between me and the fighting god, I'd be dead. Not at all. It was a highly educational battle. I should be thanking you. She bowed gracefully, then grinned. What's the grin? What's the grin? From her face to the way that she held herself, she was as beautiful as ever. It made Brius wonder what all the men of Asra were thinking if this woman were still single, right? Probably that she's a hard worker. Like, this is probably a workaholic. I see Isolde as being a workaholic, which technically plays into what I think is probably the grin. I wonder if the grin is really the fact that it was a highly educational battle. I fought against the fighting god in the magic armor, the fighting god armor. Yeah, I learned some things. This is something you don't get a chance to do to really test your mettle. Like, she got to learn something here. This was crazy educational. She got something from this. But that's not a grin, though. The grin doesn't fit for it. I kind of wonder if this is more of a fact that she's grinning because she realized what's so special about Rudius. She got to finally see what really blends Edis with Rudius, what really makes them click, how special Rudius is, and how much he means to her. That probably could be it. Because again, our initial impressions of Isolde and thinking of Rudius wasn't a positive one. This is a guy that sends this letter to Edis to say, hey, I have wives and you could be another one. You kind of hurt my feelings. She didn't like him. She didn't seem like she liked him. I mean, she's a follower of Millis. She didn't like it. So this could be, again, her finally seeing, okay, this guy is very impressive. And yeah, I see how much he means to Edis, that she was willing to do all that for him. Yeah. And please, give my best to the medical team. I will. If that is all, we will take our leave. Sander bowed, then turned. As he did, Reese remembered something and called out to him. About Lady Ettoff, I'm sorry. Sander had come back, but he was the only one. Ettoff was still missing. She must have been swept away by the ocean. She wouldn't be found for centuries, and the same was true for more. You needn't worry about my mother. One of these days, she'll pop up when you least expect it. It's the old god I feel bad for. Yeah, true. The old god had been confirmed dead. He had fought well against the fighting god, but he was an immortal demon. In the end, his strength had failed, and he died. And after they'd managed to reconcile, it was really too bad. Still, it does no good to lament the dead. I agree, we have to look forward. Ruiz had made the ogre god a promise. If he died, Ruiz would protect the surviving ogres. They weren't in any danger at the moment. But, even if it was only a promise, Ruiz wanted to keep his word, if any threat reared its ugly head. Farewell, then. Yes, thank you for everything. Ah, one more thing. Watch out for Elec for me. I will. Soon after Sander left, Cliff and Elelace walked up. Yeah, Oof on Ettoff's side. He kind of gets into it later on, the idea of going to look for or whatever, but that sucks. But again, I kind of assume that, especially after finding out what happened to Sander, and the idea that she was obliterated And it kind of implied, I think, that she, like, only her legs were left or whatever. Like, she was pretty much gone. So yeah, the assumption is that the waves coming up would grab it, pull it in the current, and just drag it off to who knows where. And it seems to be the same for more. They got obliterated somehow, just taken off by the ocean. So it all kind of makes sense in the end, but it still kind of bums. It means we're probably not going to get any more Etov for the rest of this volume, which really sucks. But yeah, sucks for the Ogre God. Keeping the promise makes sense too. Which I can easily see him sort of divvying that out to the Superb, asking them to have some of the Superb keep an eye out for them and report back to them. Or just have some other Rue Quagmire mercenary bands stationed with them. But very interesting words coming from him on the idea of not lamenting the dead after nearly essentially losing his son, Alec. Soon after Sander left, Cliff and Ellenlace walked up. Rudius, Cliff, are they going home too? They are. Are you leaving as well, Cliff? Yeah. Seeing as everything seems to have been wrapped up, we never did get to the bottom of what caused the plague. But seeing as a month has passed without any further outbreaks, and they've changed where they live, I'm going home for now. Reese was just as indebted to Cliff as the others. They couldn't have cured the plague without him, even if it was technically the work of the Abyssal King, rather than a true plague. Thank you, Cliff. I don't know what would have happened if you didn't come. It's you we're talking about. I'm sure you would have worked out something yourself. Call me if there's ever another outbreak. I will, Cliff. I've done nothing but rely on you. I don't even know to best thank you. I can only leave Lise and Clyde to go do my best work in Millis, because your family is there looking after them in Sharia. It's mutual, Rudius. It was kind of him to say that. Anyways, I'll be seeing you. Oh, but first, I plan on stopping by your house on the way home. Anything you want me to pass on? Tell them I'll be home really soon. Got it. Yeah, I mean, this is true. Now, it's funny because he's literally saying, I could do my best in Millis while you take care of Lise and Clyde in Sharia. Oh, wait, your family? It's like Rudius is doing nothing to help him. It's his family that is able to take care of them while he's off in Millis. So it's like he literally says, because your family's there. Not because of you, because your family's helping them out. So I'm helping you out. But yeah, to be truthful, Rudius really does owe Cliff a lot. And Rudius has done very little to help him out. I mean, Rudius did him a massive favor just introducing him to Ellenlace. We can say that. We can say that at least. Rudius' best wingman by at least bringing Cliff and Ellenlace together, even though it's what Cliff said that won Ellenlace over. But like everything after that, Rudius has been nothing but a burden upon Cliff. I mean, he went to Millis with Cliff, but only caused problems there. Though by proxy, technically, because Rudius caused a massive amount of problems in Millis, Cliff was able to shine. Because he caused problems, Cliff was able to resolve the problems and look good doing it. But yeah, Rudius caused nothing but problems for Cliff. Cliff a good boy. Cliff's a good boy. Best bro Cliff right here. They left with that. Ellenlace shot a wink before they took off. She'd helped out plenty too, but Rudius hadn't been able to say anything to her. But then, she was a neighbor. Rudius could show his thanks through action. He really had received a lot of help this time. Cliff helped with the plague. Sander and Doga protected him. Etof's timing was utterly godly. With the Etof's hand, an attack on the Ogre Island, he pretty much owed her his life. Leaving her missing felt so ungrateful that once things had settled down, he wanted to go out to sea to search for her. Yeah, I do agree with this. I think of everybody, at least in this final battle here, in Bahuro Kingdom, Etof's help was insane. Yeah, Ellenlace took some shots here and there, shielding or whatever. Edis, obviously, with the massive Excalibur and all the fighting that she did, fighting against Sword God Galfalion, taking him down. Rajerd, obviously, being at her side as well, at Edis' shadow, and all the help that he did, looking for people, scouting out, and all that kind of stuff. All the Superbs doing that kind of stuff. Again, Cliff helping figure out the whole situation with Vita. Doga helping Rudius down in the ravine. I don't think Rudius would have been able to get out of that ravine without Doga there. Yes, the arms saved his life, but Doga essentially gave him protection that entire time, watched over him as he regained consciousness, all that stuff. Sander taking so many hits, holding the line so many freaking times for Rudius to get the hell out of there, sacrificing himself over and over again. But Etof especially, if he fell down that ravine without those arms, he would have been dead. Plain and simple. He wouldn't have had the arms to heal himself. Even wrapping himself, he would have died. No doubt. And then later on, they're being pushed back by the Ogre God. She shows up, stops him, says, get over there to your family, says, get over there to your island, gets the Ogre God out of the picture.
all these moments that she literally saved the battle. They would have lost so many times if it weren't for her. And it's more of an aspect that there wouldn't have been anything else that would replace it. I think if Doga wasn't down the ravine, I think Orsay would have figured it out at some point and gone down there and saved his life. So I don't blame him for wanting to go out there. But it does bring up a massive question mark that right now, because she's now drifted off in the ocean and she's just kind of drifting around different body parts, and eventually they'll all come together or they'll regrow at some point. Even if they don't come together, possibly a separate part will just regrow over time, get bigger as the mana is kind of absorbed or whatever. And eventually she'll find herself on a shore somewhere like the Mills continent, just drift on shore and just restore herself there. But I'm kind of curious by him saying that I'll go out to see if I can find her. Brings a massive question mark that, again, it's not like you can jump on a boat and just sail the seas in this world. There's only certain locations you can sail around. Would he have to get some sort of approval from the sea folk? Could he establish that? It kind of implies there's some sea folk in this area that could be worked out with, or possibly he can find Kishirika, and there was the Demon King that was up in the northern part of the Demon Continent that was good friends with them, that allowed Enlil and Bodigadi to ship across there. That could be as well, just finding those people, getting the approval, essentially. The fight ended, and everyone went home. It was an empty feeling, like when a big event wraps up and everyone drifts away. After finishing clearing the trees, a spread of pristine stretch of land was before him. After pulling the trees out by the roots, he piled them up neatly using earth magic. A job well done. Cool. So now Aisha will... Oh? Reese turned just as Reserved and Norn walked up. There you are, big brother. Norn, perfect timing. Can I get you to go tell Aisha that I'm done clearing the trees? Yes, of course. Norn turned and ran towards the village, and Reserved drew close to Rudius. Rudius. Reserved, sorry I put you through all this. Hey now, we promised we wouldn't talk like that, mister. I made no such promise. No, I guess you didn't. Yeah, technically. Yeah, technically. There was like a pushback there, but technically Reserved didn't agree. Reserved was working on the village's recovery. After that, he would probably frequent the office, or else take a role negotiating with the kingdom. Norn followed him around everywhere. It looked like she was planning on staying and helping him out, at least until the village was rebuilt. Please come to Sharia again, once the village is finished. I will. I want to meet your children. They're so super cute. All parents say that about their children. Reserved spoke with a smile. Reserved does love them kids. Reserved does love them kids. You really got stronger. I never thought you'd go so far as becoming one of the 7 great powers. You could become one right away if you wanted to. 1 punch from you, Reserved, and I'm down. 1 punch. Don't joke. Still, it's a fact that I didn't get here on my own strength. Perhaps that is your strength. Maybe so. Again, that kind of goes back to that whole thing with Etov. The idea that your strength is what you kind of surround yourself with. Come at me with your people. Come at me with your army, because they are what makes you special. That they will come to this battlefield for you proves to me that they are an extension of yourself, basically. But yeah, he's a good point, though. Just punch Rudius and you'll become one of the 7 great powers. It's that simple. Though I kind of wonder, could somebody just striking Rudius down now, would they be able to take that spot? Because what they get into in a minute, Bodigadi hasn't moved. Bodigadi's placement hasn't moved because something else still exists. Could the people around Rudius be his armor? And striking down Rudius won't change anything because you have to strike down basically the Ruquag mercenary band. Everybody around him that surrounds him. Interesting. After watching Rudius for a little while, Reserved smiled again. He took the pendant that hung around his neck and held it out to Rudius. It was Roxy's pendant. I don't know why the Roxy pendant always gets me emotional, because there's so much, they're going to get in a minute, so much value and significance to it. It's time for me to return this. But it should be yours after all. He had given it to Reserved when they parted ways for the first time. Roxy's pendant, the one that at some point had become his mark. This very pendant had first inspired Rudius to go out into the world. Thank you. Rudius accepted it. When he gave it to Reserved back then, it had been for a silly reason. When they had parted, he hadn't needed him to give it back. He just wanted Reserved to take it with him. Maybe Rudius wanted a connection with him. Now he had given it back, because they were already like brothers. They wouldn't be parting again for a long time. That's interesting. Yes, I've always had a love for the significance of the Roxy pendant. Because again, that was the original thing that Roxy gave him just before she left. She showed Rudius how to get out of that barrier that he was stuck inside of. I don't want to leave this house. Okay, I don't want to leave this yard. Okay, I don't want to leave this village. It's like you say, that whole idea where that barrier keeps breaking more and more. And what Roxy did was She helped him get past that yard, get out into the village at least. And then at that point, he's running around. He wants to go check out things. But you can almost say that the pendant was almost that symbol of like, here's this thing as I leave, and it almost gives that desire to go out anymore. Roxy showed me how to get past that barrier. But when it came to him giving it to Rejerd, it felt like, yeah, I guess that could have been a Bond aspect. But I almost felt like it was also a thing of desiring for him to see him again. Here, Rejerd, take this. Because it was a shocker for Rudius at the time, because Rejerd wanted to leave before they got to the village or the refugee camp. The refugee camp was over there, and Rejerd's like, it's time to part. Rudius wasn't ready for it. It caught him off guard. No, where are you going? It's right there. No, you're going to be fine. You can make it this far. It's right there. You don't need me to walk you into that place. And I think at the time, if I remember correctly, he gave that to Rejerd almost like a way of like forcing them to have to meet again. I think it's what it really was. I want to see Rejerd again. So if I give him this, it'll force us to have some meeting again in the future. I care for this guy so much. Take this. It's special to me. We'll meet again. We'll meet again at some point. And so now, Reese doesn't have to worry about that anymore. We're going to meet again. We're brothers. I know where he's at. I can find him. I know he's no longer having to search around everywhere. I know where he's at. We're brothers now. I can take this back. It's okay now. This isn't goodbye. So really, this parting right here isn't goodbye. I don't have to worry that I'm not going to see Rejerd again for another 10 years. Rejerd, you'll have my back, right? I will. Though, it might be beyond me. We can be with each other, Lax. Rejerd chuckled. That we can. They both smiled at each other. Papa Rejerd. Norm returned with the mercenaries, and Rejerd went back to the village. Rudius left the construction sites and walked to the magic circles. He thought it was about time he head back to Sharia for a bit. Then, with a start, he noticed another person coming the other way. It was Orsted, wearing his black helmet as usual, and he wasn't alone. A black-haired boy trailed behind him like his retainer. I forgot this. I totally forgot this. Rudius is all freaking jealous. Alex making Rudius jealous. That's my spot. I'm at his side all the time. It reminded Rudius of Etov and more, or Pedagus and Silvaro, like he had been in this role for hundreds of years. As much as Rudius wanted to point out that he had been there first. If it came to blow, Rudius would lose. Instead, he kept his mouth shut. Still, whenever Rudius saw him, his teeth were on edge. Is something the matter? No. If I've done something to offend you, please let me know. I'll be sure not to repeat it. Weariness notwithstanding, Alec had grown submissive since that day. He was so earnest, it made Rudius wonder if it wasn't a cover for something else. Orsted demanded absolute obedience from Rudius as well, so he knew it was genuine. I understand why you are wary, but after the battle the other day, I know my place. I understand now how inexperienced and insignificant I am. I hope to devote myself to study under Sir Orsted and you, Sir Rudius, during which time I will seek to understand what it means to be a hero and what it means to be a North God. I've had my sword hand sealed, as you can see here, as proof of my intentions and as a warning to myself. Alec raised his right hand to show it. It was severed cleanly at the wrist, with a pattern carved on the stump. Orsted had cast that seal. Because of his immortal demon blood, Alec regenerated, even when cut into pieces. He couldn't do it as fast as Bodygotti or Etov, but it would inevitably happen after enough time. That's why, after cutting off his right hand, he asked Orsted to seal it. It was proof of his loyalty. Rhys supplied the mana to the sealing magic circle. Interesting. Interesting. I don't know. I think that's probably one of those situations, because he says he does it. He does it. I don't think Orsted would have forced him. Like, if Alec didn't do that, I think Orsted would be like, all right, let's go. You know, you're going to serve me. And then Alec does it. I think Alec's doing this just for his own reason. And it could have been when they had the whole situation where they fought, he could have like went to heal him and he went and chopped it off anyways and said, here, steal the rest of it. But still interesting. Still interesting. And again, this kind of links itself to what I was talking about with what the whole sealing aspect was with Etov and the Immortal Demons. This could have been right here. Like when Etov was defeated one of those 2 times and sealed away, they could have chopped off all her limbs and sealed them with temporary seals. And then after time, that seal breaks and she's able to regrow her arms. It feels like we're learning about this whole sealing process in reverse. I'm hardly a threat with only my left hand, aren't I? I think you could kill me with both your arms missing, actually. With a headbutt or something. You needn't worry. But then, such modesty is to be praised, I suppose. I look forward to your continued advice and guidance. Right. I really do think that, It's like, that's not modesty. You could kill me. Stop. It's not modesty. I am really weak, dude. Orsted apparently trusted Alec, for he didn't say anything about letting him stay close. Reus, meanwhile, had the feeling that Alec was going to knife him in the back one day. Put plainly, he scared him. Yeah? After getting, laid down so fast like that, yeah. Even knowing that he wasn't the sharpest tool in the box, scary, still scary. So, if you ever find yourself thinking, gee, I really want to be the 7 great powers again, let me know. I'll give it back anytime. Oh, about that. Once I believe I've gained sufficient experience, I will ask you again. You will ask me, right? Sneak attacks from behind is against the rules. It may be that I challenge the Sword God and not you, Master Rudius. Though rest assured that if I do challenge you, I shall do with honor. And no sharp edges, okay? I don't want to fight to death. You're not going to kill me, will you? Please don't kill me. It's against the rules to kill me. Understood. At present, the 7 great powers stood as follows. Number 1, Technique God Laplace. Number 2, Dragon God Orsted. Number 3, Fighting God Bodigatti. Number 4, Demon God Laplace. Number 5, Death God Randolph. Number 6, Sword God Gino Britz. Number 7, Quagmire Rudius Grey Rat. So no one took Bodigotti's place. Very interesting. Very interesting. And again, it's kind of odd how that technically works in the end. Reus was the only one that looked ridiculously out of place, and he didn't like it. It also got him down, thinking that he would have to put up with idiots coming to take a spot. His mark was the mark of the Midgards, which he'd rarely shown off until now. Even after Resurd had returned Roxy's pendant to him, he didn't plan on start waving it around to everyone that he's seen. No one should know who the great power actually was. Well, I mean, that goes to the whole point where I think a lot of this stuff is unknown. I think the only ones that seem to have been decently well known was Orsted, Dragon God Orsted, and Sword God Galfalion, and North God Kalman. And yeah, technically the Demon God Laplace, but again, that was that whole aspect of being curious if that is even Laplace. Is that Demon God listed there? Is that Laplace? Again, is the Technique God, is that even Laplace? Reus is saying this is the listing. This is who I think everybody is, but is that who it really is? But again, what does the general public know about this list? I mean, we literally just started finding out who a lot of these individuals was in the last few volumes. It never felt like any of this stuff was common knowledge. It felt like at some point it was, like this was some sort of contest, but not ever really. So if Reus does go around with the Roxy pendant, are people going to know what it is? But again, it goes back to what I was kind of afraid of. Now the Midgard symbol is on that 7 great powers. Will somebody seeking to get on it go to the Midgardians? The Midgardian tribe might know who this person is, or somebody in the Midgardian tribe might actually be that 7th great power. It sucks. His name wasn't especially well known either, so that should keep the challengers at bay. Reus has stuck with the number 7, identity unknown, for a while. For clarification, the fighting god's rank didn't change in the last battle. Ors had said that it wouldn't change unless the fighting god armor was totally annihilated. I don't know why that's connected somehow. I guess because why would this goes back to I'm starting to at this point really think that this has nothing to do with power ranking. I talked about it here recently. I had a going theory that I kind of think that the 7 great powers isn't necessarily a power ranking and who's in the ranking of this tournament basically, but more so an idea of, again, this is supposed to be something that was created by the Technique God. I wonder if it's literally like a catalog of skills. Like each one of these individuals has some sort of ability or something that he's trying to keep track of. And right here, it's now keeping track of Rudius because of what he has. It might be even more than 7. But the idea of having the fighting god armor involved in this kind of breaks a lot of stuff, because originally that was Laplace's. And then the fighting god took it and split Laplace. And yes, I guess technically after that, I think the 7 great powers monuments were actually created. So it wasn't even there before then. But why does the fighting god armor have anything to do with it? Because then later on, Alec wore it. And then Alec took the armor away. Why is it somehow connected to Bodigatti when he lost the armor and Alec took it and ran off with it? It doesn't make any sense why it's still an extension of Bodigatti's body, I guess is the best way to put it. Why is it so connected to Bodigatti? Does that mean that if Rudius were to put it on, he would be permanently placed on the 7 great powers until the armor is destroyed? It doesn't make any sense why it's an extension of him specifically, when so many people have wore it. When Laplace has worn it, Bodygotti wore it, and then Alec wore it. It almost feels like an excuse not to put Edis on the list. I'm sorry. It almost feels like it's like they're writing it right here just to make sure that Edis doesn't end up on the list. I feel like this is an excuse not to have Edis on the list. Edis deserved it, Refugin. You're making up excuses to keep Edis off the list. All my Edis fans out there, rise up. We have to revolt. This is BS. He's creating some weird crap fiction in here in order to keep Edis off the list, and I'm angry about it. I'm never going to let this go. Reese turned to Orsted. Sir Orsted, how are you feeling these days?
Not bad. Using a little mana doesn't worsen things especially anyways.
Orsted had to use mana in the last fight, and a lot of it. He said that he'd taken about half of his total. The fight hadn't looked like an easy victory. Given he'd finished up with full HP and only used up half his MP, you couldn't say that it hadn't been. I like how he's like... Again, what my whole mentality there was that he's pulling the blade. He's like, I'm a full mana dump on this boy. I only used a little. Half. And like it keeps changing. Things look different when he couldn't recover any of his MP though. He had used the mana that he'd been saving for Laplace and the Man God. They'd won, but the Man God had satisfied one of his own victory conditions. Would it still count as a victory for Rios' team? Again, that goes back to what exactly Orsted needs to use that mana for. Again, they implied the idea that after Rios fought Orsted, he used a lot of his mana, but it's fine because all I gotta do is take down Laplace when he's a kid. Take out that baby. Crap, can't take out that baby. It's done again. I can't get enough to be able to defeat him when he's full power and do what I need to do with the Man God. Okay, we'll take care of Laplace. Okay, we're good again. Okay, now I have to use mana right here. I don't have what I need for the Man God. It's okay. We'll fight together. It always comes down to that aspect of like, what does he need that mana for? I'd assume he needs something to take down Petagoose, but maybe Petagoose is just a blip on the radar. Like, pfft, he's easy. I can kill him easy. The question is, what is all required for his face-off against the Man God? Does he need mana along with the keys in order to open that doorway? Does he need a certain amount of mana to take down the Man God? Does he need a certain amount in order to slay him? Like, is there like a god-slaying attack specifically? Otherwise, the Man God could restore himself. That was all the question mark. But it's implying now with his acceptance of help of people around him, his friends, that they could possibly do what he's going to have to do. With that being the case, Ruiz feels like he's lost because Orsted doesn't have that. But it seems like Orsted has accepted that, no, we can do this. We can do this. I will have people do those different roles.
I will have less reason for using my magic from here on out.
Orsted didn't seem bothered by it. Maybe he was trying to be optimistic. Rudius, do you see Orsted being the optimistic type?
Yes, or Rudius, we got this.
Would it sound like he was cheerful? I sure hope so.
Even if it does not turn out, this time was different to all that came before. Thus, we only need to continue along a different path to before. I am already resolved to that.
Orsted was counting on Rudius. Even if he used up his mana that he was saving, it didn't matter to him because Rudius was fighting alongside him. It seemed to Orsted this had been a perfect victory. If he thought this was a win, it was. To be sure, there had been hardly any deaths. The Ogre God, several Superb, and several of Vatov's personal guard. That was the extent to the casualties. Orsted's mana was the only area that Rudius felt like they had been defeated. Oh yes, what did you need me for?
I will be returning to Sharia.
Understood. I was thinking about going back myself. Oh, but I don't think the office has been rebuilt yet.
No matter. There will be somewhere I can sleep.
The basement with the teleportation circles had been dug to a bare minimum with earth magic, but with the restoration work continuing, it would need to be expanded. Rudius also had to come up with countermeasures to stop a repeat attack. Admittedly, he was fresh out of good ideas on that score. Just ask Aisha. Aisha will figure something out. It might be better not to have magic circles for any nation outside the principal ones. It was shocking that he'd never considered the possibility of the enemy using them to break in.
But first, I will go see him one last time.
I'll accompany you. Yeah, again, I think, I don't remember exactly where, I at some point I did kind of consider the idea that it's kind of stupid that you have so much coming to that one location, that there was nothing there to offset a possible attack. Yeah, you can consider the idea that some of them were built in secret. You hope that nobody knows about them. You're creating them in the bottom of some ruins in some random location. How the hell would anybody know where they're at? That's a massive question mark. How would they know? But yeah, there's going to be some cases where it's into some kingdom or some location that some official knows about it, and they're going to be able to get to you. I mean, just for an easy example, and don't see it happening, what if Geese were to get to Ariel and then talk her into finding out where that's at? Or the man god looks into his memories. The man god briefly makes her disciple, brings her in, looks into her future, figures out where that's at. That's an easy way to figure it out. Or just one of the officials in there that knows about where the circle's out. Ariel's not the only one in that kingdom that knows about it. That's easy in order to get to there. It did seem like he was putting way too much in that one location. How to create a countermeasure to it? About all I can see is making the actual office itself separate from the teleportation circles themselves, and make them in different locations around Sharia. Just different spots goes to different locations. Yeah, it's a little bit of a walk to go there, but at least separates it from one central location. The office itself should not be connected. That night, Orsted and Rudius went to the bottom of the Earthworm Ravine. And apparently Alec too. I'm not sure why they didn't mention him. They went down to the level path, surrounded by blue mushrooms and lichen, to a little hole carved so that it was concealed in the wall. It was about a meter tall. Due to its slight curvature, it looked from the outside like it ran to a dead end. If you followed it 10 meters or so down, it led out to a large cavern. In that cavern was a 5 meter in radius, glowing magic circle with a sword at its center. Within it lay a reclining man.
So, you've come.
It was the fighting god, Bodygotti. Just put it in. Just put it into him, dude. Just put it into him. Ogre God couldn't live, but Bodygotti's gotta live. His body had been split into 5 pieces, each which had been sealed in a different location in the ravine. His main body was here. This barrier couldn't be broken unless the other 4 seals were broken first. It operated using mana from Bodygotti's own body, and it was amplified, therefore sustained by, the King Dragon Blade and the Fighting God armor. That sucks. I was hoping Edis would get the sword. I was hoping that Edis would get the sword. It would go on operating, almost in perpetuity. It was a custom-made barrier magic circle. A Pedagoose specialty. It was divine tier barrier magic, created to seal the demon god. The sealed subject served as a medium, and the magical implements as vectors. And the more powerful each were, the stronger the barrier magic became. That's actually an interesting thing to put. With both the armor and the blade, it was so powerful that even Orsted would be helpless to escape. Using 2 divine tier pieces of equipment as part of the barrier might have been overdoing it. It's kind of interesting they put the subject was sealed to serve as a medium, which again is feeding it. Bodygotti is feeding it the mana that it needs. Then it's going into magical implements as vectors, and the more powerful each were, the stronger the barrier magic became. The armor and the blade, they're actually defining them as magical implements. That's interesting. I don't think they've ever called them technically magical implements, but they should be technically classified as magical implements. Magical implements, again, unlike magic items, magical implements were described as being essentially tools that are created by people and having, magic circles or whatnot etched into them to serve a purpose. So you can create, like Rudius has, magical implements. It's his Gatling gun. That's a magical implement. It's a bunch of magical implements that create stone cannons. So he's able to shoot a whole bunch of them by just feeding them mana. But yeah, it's kind of odd that I don't think I've ever really, in my brain, connected that, yes, technically Kajakut's blade was forged by a blacksmith, and it's magical. The assumption there is that it's a magical implement. So he basically took the bones and created it, but probably infused them in some way like a magical implement is. The armor, yes, it was created by Laplace. Laplace created an armor and put probably a whole crap ton of magic circles in it. It never got into actually describing how each part of the magic armor, the fighting god armor, was created. But the assumption is that it was created similarly to what Rudius did with his magic armor, because everybody sees the same thing when they see it. A big bulking armor that somehow is infused with magic. Probably a layered system of magic circles. In the end, it is a magical implement. Again, that might be a stupid thing to get stuck on for some people, but that's one of those things where it's like, it clicks to me, oh, that's right, I don't think I've ever really connected it as it is technically a magical implement. But yeah, it's crazy to consider that this thing is so powerful, even Orsted would be helpless to escape. even Orsted, using 2 divine tier pieces of equipment as one part of the barrier might have been overdoing it. But the equipment was far more formidable in the hands of their enemy than to be used by them. Yeah, I guess that makes sense to not let Edis use it because it could end up in the wrong hands. Like, you think that she'd give it to somebody. Given that just the other day, their enemies had used their teleportation circles against them. This wasn't out of proportion to the threat. Yes, I guess that's a good point. It's like Rudy's just lecturing me right now. As long as the seal on Bodyguard remained intact, it effectively rendered the armor and the blade sealed as well. If anyone broke through this, they might as well just give up. That was the reasoning. I mean, it's either that or having Orsted take the armor and put it back in that labyrinth. Either way, Bodyguard can go back there and get it again. Orsted had gone to Petagus to request the base for the barrier. He had bowed his head and asked Petagus for aid, leading to Petagus agreeing. That's, again, interesting. That would imply that probably after Aisha got there, Orsted just went, okay, since Cliff is drained, I gotta go up there. And that was the trigger. It wasn't anything before then. It wasn't just about the barrier. Petagus was Orsted's ally now. They were joined by a bond of fellowship, but Orsted would later have to kill Petagus. He had chosen the path of betrayal. Implying there that he didn't inform him, because that was something I was going to be curious about if they ever had some sort of bond there. Because again, my prediction still is, in the end, that they're going to form an alliance with Laplace in the end. And that's probably not going to be something that Petagus is going to be so happy about. But again, that all lines up to that idea that there's a good chance that May might find a way around the keys. That in the end, they will find a way around those keys and they won't have to kill them. And that Laplace will agree to help them, and it's all going to be needed in the end. A big portion of that was the idea that I felt like Laplace might be necessary for, one, to have enough mana pool for the situation with the Man God, but two, with what they're going to be doing in the future with Nanahoshi. But yeah, this all kind of plays out like when Rudius first retreated back to the town, the village. He ran by Aisha, who was there to pick up everybody and get them out of there. She's probably already moving people, and she's trying to tell Rudius that. He goes over there, gets in the armor, goes to leave, and Orst right there is like, here, Rudius, take this sword. And Rudius goes charging off. Once he engaged with the fighting god, they take Cliff back to the village, and then Orsted right there sees, okay, Cliff's down. He's supposed to be working on the barrier magics with him, so they can't do the barrier sealing anymore. And then he sees Aisha, and he's like, yeah, she's already contacted Petagus about this. He's already helping out. I'm going to go up there too. Goes up there and talks to Petagus and says, I need help sealing this down. I need help locking this down. Which implies that Petagus knows something about barrier magic more than Orst did. Huh. I didn't think about that before. That is interesting. It makes sense why Aisha goes initially to Petagus. Because she has a flute, and she can't get to Orsted anyways. Goes to Petagus directly, knowing that he has that ability to set up those circles. That part makes sense. But Orsted having to go to Petagus for barrier magic? Orsted, who knows all known abilities? Why would he have to go to Petagus to learn about a barrier magic? The answer that my brain comes to immediately, so it's not like I'm confused here. Orsted chose to ally himself with Petagus and had him do it. Meaning Orsted could do it, but he had Petagus do it. That's the answer I'd come to? Because if Petagus knows how to do this, Orsted should too. But yeah, going back to this point right here, but Orsted would later have to kill Petagus. He had chosen a path of betrayal. I wonder, I think at this point, I think Orsted may be possibly trying to figure out an alternate way. I think there could be a chance that Orsted right here is not just choosing to buddy up with Petagus and eventually stab in the back, but possibly try to find an alternate way. But then there's also a chance that he could have told him, I will eventually have to kill you, but we can kill Laplace first. And Petagus might have accepted that. The guy that was involved with this whole situation with your Laplace here, I'm trying to kill him, but I need to go through you and Laplace to get to him. I will work with you with Laplace, but then I need your life too. He could have agreed to it. Rudius was indebted to Petagus and Orsted both, so his personal feelings about this was complicated. He knew Orsted hadn't wanted to do it this way. Choosing it anyway meant that it wasn't for Rudius to say anything about it. Yeah, and I think a lot of that has to do with that isolation. I think initially I thought that Orsted never worked with Pedagoose or communicated with anybody was because of past experiences. He's been through so many of these loops that he has, went to work with somebody, they end up dead, and thus he kind of distanced himself with them in the further loops. But it's sort of implied to me that's how he's always been. He's always been disconnected from people. And now finally with Rudius, he's learning to finally connect with people. He's finally trusting people. He's finally working with people. Choosing it anyways meant that it wasn't for Rudius to say anything about it. He made Rudius wish that there was a way to get to the man god without using the dragon tribe's sacred treasures. But he knew that wasn't a problem you could solve with wishes and a little time at the library. Maybe it wasn't something he ought to be thinking about. Currently he had somebody in front of him to worry about for now. Again, Rudius is already hitting on it. And I think this is kind of flagging it. Rudius is already hitting it right here. There might be another way to get around this. You might not need to have to do that. Again, I can totally see that. The thing that I couldn't stop thinking about when they first brought this stuff up was what is the sacred treasures? What exactly is it? Is it just them being dead? It could be as simple as they cannot be alive. Physically, they cannot be breathing, and then suddenly that door can be opened. That they're like sort of barriers for that gateway to get to the Barren Lands. In order to get to the Barren Lands, kill those seals, door opens, walk in. Or is it, a physical object inside of them, a crystal, a gem that is embedded inside their body that he has to literally rip out, like their heart or something like that. It's curious. But I think even Pedagoose himself sort of implied the idea that they were physical objects. Or maybe he was just simply implying the idea they were dead. I don't know. I am terribly sorry, Your Majesty. But as you're a disciple of the man god, we had no choice.
I am cramped.
I like a prisoners being whiny about their accommodations. Bodyguard spoke pompously as he lay like a reclining Buddha.
I should like a little more freedom of movement.
Reese had his own relationship with jail cells, but even he would have found this sealed barrier cramped. Still, he hated the idea of killing Bodyguard. Kishirika also asked him not to. Whatever. I don't want to make Kishirika upset either, but whatever. I really am sorry, but this is as much as I could do.
Then so it must be.
He had 2 arms, and his body was smaller than it had been before. That was the result of the seal.
Now, what brings you here, pray tell? I assume that you have not come to drink and make merry while basking in my sultry allure.
So Orsted said he had something to speak to you about. Reese stepped aside for Orsted.
Demon King Bodyguard. Good evening to you, Master Dragon God. And how may I be of assistance? Leave the man god and submit to me.
Bodyguard gaped at him. But then,
The
his laugh echoed around the cavern.
pariah of the dragon tribes dares command me, an immortal demon king, to bow down to him? There was a time when we were enemies, but you are a friend of Rudius's. Alex, Alexander, and Etoff have all allied themselves with me. There is surely room for you to consider it. There is not.
But why? Great uncle, Alec, who stood near the entrance, stepped forward. This is interesting. This is one of those moments where I didn't really think about this until I read this a second time. Bodyguard is the disciple of the man god. Came after Rudius. They defeat him. Alec dons the armor. Comes after Orsted. Orsted defeats him. Serve me. Technically does to Alec what he did to Rudius. But for Rudius, it was because he depleted a lot of his mana, and he could see that he could use Rudius to help him. And I think there was a side at the time that he sort of seen how hard he was working for his family. But in the end, he chooses to spare Rudius, almost on a whim, so to speak. You can also see sort of a whim aspect there. But Alec was different. Alec was, I'm choosing to use people around me and gain more allies and fight alongside people this time. So it almost seems like even though Alec does feel similar, it's different. But this even goes even further, that he goes down here to Bodigadi and he's saying, serve me. There was a time that we were enemies, but you're a friend of Rudius's. Everybody else, Alex, Alexander, Etoff, they're all allies with me. He's a friend of yours. You're a friend of Rudius's. Fight alongside us. Again, he also had to pick Pedagoose. This is all signs that Orsted has changed so freaking much. And this is where it finally stands out even more, that he's going out of his way to go down in this cavern and give Bodyguard this chance. You can do this. Come on. Let's go. You're a friend of Rudius, aren't you? Let's go. Which does make him declining it even more frustrating. You're defeated, are you not? In accordance with the law of the immortal demons.
Alec, do not misunderstand. That is not a rule across all of immortal demonkind. It is an Etoff rule.
Interesting. Again, sort of a rule that Rudius was using to his benefit with Etoff. That's not something that's across the board. That's just something you learn from her. Now, he does technically have competitions with people all the time and accept to aid them based on the competitions, what he did with Geese. Have you pledged your loyalty to the man god then, great uncle?
I have not.
Bodigadi sat up and shook his head. Then he folded his 2 arms and crossed his legs.
I was not one for fighting originally. What I liked was to travel, to drink and be merry, seducing passing women, betting them on occasion, taking a beating from a jilted fiancé, making friends and drinking, laughing and singing, then looking around for worn-out faces, sleeping and satisfied. The man god came to me, head bowed, and asked me to fight, and so I did. That is all it was. I want you to kill the dragon god Orsted and Rudius Greyrat, no matter what, he said. Who do you have to think? That you and Kishidika are alive in the same era, he said. And he asked me to remember 4,200 years back and repay the debt I owed him. As a result, I agreed to help him. This one time.
The only part that doesn't make any sense is, who do you have to thank for you and Kishidika being alive in the same era? I mean, he says, yeah, do you remember the whole thing with 4,200 years back? You know, I guess the implication there is that I helped you with the whole war thing, but you weren't getting much out of that. You immediately all immediately got obliterated and had to come back. It's not like he facilitated some time together with them right there. It seems to me that it's implying the idea that he helped Bodigadi and Kishidika come together here. Maybe? He paused for a moment.
That one time has passed. Now, I ally myself with no one. If my choice is to fight, or to be sealed in this place, then I choose to remain sealed.
It's actually a really good statement there. He's literally saying, I have a chance to join Orsted and fight more, but I'm going to choose to stay sealed. That's kind of proof that he's done. Like, if I can choose to get out of here and join Orsted, no. That's how much I don't want to fight anymore. It's done. I'm done. I'm done fighting. Then why'd you help Geese and the Vanguard? Again, he accepted with Geese first. That made Rudius think that maybe they could let Bodigadi go. Though, he was still a disciple of the man god, so they couldn't just blindly let him loose after nothing more than a bout of smooth talk. I agree. Because if the man god talked him into it this time, he's going to talk to him in again. It seemed very easy to get him to join him this time, and that's after he got him to go mad and nearly kill Kishidika. If he could talk him into helping him after he nearly got his beloved killed, next time will be easier, I think.
Either way,
Bodigadi grinned at Rudius as he pondered.
You'll release me when your fight with Man God concludes, will you not? Yes.
Orsted replied. Rudius looked at Bodigadi, then realized it wouldn't happen during his lifetime. But if Orsted won his battle with the man god, there would be no need to keep Bodigadi chained up. For killing the ogre god? For killing the Superb? I don't know. I think there's plenty of reason to keep him locked up. But, oh, yeah. Oh, well, just the ogre god and some purrs. Just, I think at least... That's a... This is like I should make a different video for this. I really shouldn't get into this. Question for the chat. Here's a good one. Question for the chat. An immortal demon king, times different for an immortal demon king. Punishment for an immortal demon king when it comes to being imprisoned technically is different than, say, a human. So if I get 10 years in prison as a human, it's much more devastating to me in my lifespan than if Bodigadi were to get 10 years in prison. Because it's like a blip. That's what they keep saying. He keeps losing track of time. He goes and gets drink and get merry, and then it's like 10 years later he finally shows up. Like, they keep saying don't wait for him because he's probably lost all sense of time. Okay, back to here. A human were to kill, what they say, like, I think 7? Wasn't it like 7 Superbs? He killed 7 men. And the ogre god, a leader of a country, a leader of an entire tribe. If I were to kill a king and 7 soldiers, that, I feel like that would at least be a life sentence. If not 8 counts of life sentences, which you can equate to like 200 years per count. Now, how do you multiply that for a demon king? How many years would Bodigadi have to serve in prison on 8 counts of murder, of killing? Which, yes, in often cases, killing in a battlefield isn't the same as murdering somebody in a street. I get that. How long do you think Bodigadi should be sealed away for killing a tribe's leader who's beloved by his people and 7 soldiers, superb warriors? Let me know. I'm going to go with the 200 times 8. I think that. At least 1,600 years. At least 1,600 years. To offset the idea of it was a battlefield, it was mostly initiated by him. He was the major tool of that war. And those people are technically executed on the spot. They're not given a trial. So I can't even make that argument. Anyways, I had to squash out that rabbit hole that my brain created. Key point here. Don't think this is enough. I don't think this is enough punishment. That would be like Rudius letting Geese go. No. I think if Bodigadi was not Immortal Demon King, Rudius would have ended him. Rudius would have ended him. Orsted would have ended him.
It will be 100 years hence. Not so soon then. I shall be patient.
Bodigadi laid back down. With a nod, Orsted turned to leave. It looked like the discussion was over. It was quick. Your Majesty, I know this might not be the best circumstances to say it, but I want to thank you for everything at the university.
Listen well, Rudius. This may be our last time we meet. So I shall say it now. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
You are victorious. Thus, I congratulate you.
I'm not sure I was, though. That was what Rudius was worried about. In the end, Orsted had used his mana. Rudius had slipped up at the very last moment. But Bodigadi didn't mention that.
You have given the man god a taste of defeat.
I gave him what?
You have made him think that, no matter what he may try, he cannot kill you. He has lost all will to try. Indeed, it is hard to describe how he looked when I saw him last. Except he looked the very image of defeat. What else would you call one who fought him, but victorious?
Is that really true?
You need only take off that bracelet and pay him a visit yourself to verify it.
Bodigadi pointed at Rudius, and his hand, unconsciously, went to cover the bracelet. I don't think I will. Thanks.
No? Well, as you like it.
Rudius wouldn't fall for that one. He didn't want to see the man god again. It almost feels like Bodigadi right here is sort of making it very simple for Rudius to understand. Again, Rudius is so stuck on, I made him use his mana, I've lost. This is not victory. This is not total victory. And Bodigadi is saying, I just seen the dude. I just came from the war room, and they're all, like, panicking, looking out the window, waiting for the army to charge up to the command center. Like, they lost their front line, and they're literally standing at the window looking out, waiting for death to come to them. He lost. It is interesting that he's saying it's hard to describe how he looked when I saw him last, except for he looked like the very image of defeat. He could be saying it's hard to describe how he looked because he's similar to Rudius, that he's mosaic. Like, you just can't really get a sense of him. It's all blurred. But he very well could have probably talked to him after being defeated by all of them. Probably sitting down here in this barrier before Orsted and Rudius came up. Probably got to visit the man god. And he's like, yeah, dude's done. Rudius, why aren't you happy? He done. It's that simple. He lost. You want to go talk to him? You can go talk to him. No, I don't want to talk to him. Okay. Why aren't you happy? Congratulations. Which, yes, if he's in fact talking about the last time I talked to him, you've given him that defeat. He realized he cannot kill you. If he's talking about after Bodigadi fell and Alec fell, this implies right here that even though Orsted uses mana, they will get to him. They for sure will get to the man god. I'm surprised Reese doesn't pick up on that. If the man god's defeated, even though Orsted uses mana, it means that doesn't matter. Interesting. Reese wouldn't fall for that one. He never wanted to see the man god again. Though the man god had seemed pretty desperate when Rudius last seen him. Maybe he really had taken this last battle as a heavy defeat. But Rudius didn't trust Bodigadi when he said the man god had lost his will to try anymore. Yeah, I don't see that either. Unless the man god stops looking at his future and just accepts it. Unless he stops looking at his future because it's going to be something that's going to drive him crazy. That's like I said before. I almost have a side of me that kind of sees the logic behind the man god in the idea of somebody being able to see their future where they're dying. And they always see it. And they can't take their eyes off of it. It would drive most people insane to the point where they would even be willing to see the suffering of other people in order to ease that pain. When somebody is hurt, they hurt somebody else in order to relieve that pain they have. Take their mind off of it. Look at that suffering. He's suffering just like I'm suffering because this eye right here is constantly seeing where I'm dead and dying. Make this suffer. Make this suffer. I can see that warped mind the man god gets from that.
Is that all?
Yes, for me at least.
Then keep yourself well, Rudius.
Rudius turned and followed after Orsted. As he did, Alec ran forward, looking anguished. Great uncle.
Listen well, young Alexander. If you seek to be a hero, find your true foe. That was something your father never did. You will surpass him when you strike down that foe.
Thank you. I don't like that. I don't like that comment. Again, it seems... It's sad. It seems like he really doesn't like Alex. He really doesn't like Sander. He sees him as a coward almost. Like, again, this was this guy that was trying to get so strong and so strong and so strong. He was so devoted to getting strong. And then he turned tail and ran the first moment that he got defeated. Like, he just gave up on all this crap. What the heck's wrong with you, boy? Go be your hero. Why weren't you fighting for something? You gave up that easy? And now he's telling Alexander, don't do what your dad did. Go be your hero. Don't just become a sidekick like he wants to be. Go be your hero. Interesting. Which, yes, I honestly feel like is such a hypocritical statement because technically that's sort of what Bodyguard did too. He wanted to be this big hero. He wanted to prove himself to Kishirika, and he went out on that battlefield and tried so freaking hard to serve Kishirika and get that attention. And then he screwed up, got beat down, and he's going to be merry. You want to talk. After replying, Alec turned to leave. This would probably be Rudius' final farewell to Bodigadi in this life. In this life? In this life? Are we hinting at something? Refugin, are we hinting at something? This would be the last time Rudius' farewell to Bodigadi in this life? Nothing stopped from dropping by once a year or so. But talking to Bodigadi might lead to Rudius weakening and breaking the seal. It was best not to come at all. I can see that. None of the others at the University of Magic were told Bodigadi was here either. Only 5 people knew. Rudius, Orsted, Richard, Alec, and Pedigus. Yeah, the only one that's sus in that entire list is Alec. The only one that's super sus in that entire list is Alec. Now granted, Richard was manipulated. They had already decided that Richard would watch over from the village to make sure none visited the ravine. Not many could make it to the bottom of the ravine and back up again. And 100 years shouldn't be long enough for the seal to spontaneously fail.
Rudius, the entrance.
Understood. Rudius would fill in the narrow entrance. Anyone who came after would have to dig if they wanted to find it again. This was goodbye. At the end, ever so faintly, Rudius thought he heard Bodigadi's voice.
May it be your curse is lifted, young dragon god.
Rest in seal, I guess? I want to say rest in piss like I did with Geese, but he's technically just sealed away. I don't know. In some people's opinion, I kind of agree here. Being sealed like this for what could possibly be at least 100 years is equally as haunting. The idea of being stuck there, stuck in one place. He looks like he can at least move. Like he's able to sit up, cross his legs, fold his arms. It seems cramped, but he at least has room to move. But 100 years stuck there in a dark cave? Ugh. But yeah, may it be your curse is lifted, young dragon god. There's a side of me that almost wonders if possibly, and it didn't dawn on me until I read this part, it didn't imply if Orsted was wearing the helmet or not. I wonder if Bodigadi chose to refuse Orsted based on the curse. But still right here, he's at least seemingly, it seems like he's acknowledging the curse that is placed upon Orsted. And that could be through his conversations with the man god. The man god has filled him in on that curse, or at least he possibly does know about the curse through his conversations with other individuals who are immortal. That he could have figured out at some point through somebody that Orsted has this curse, and he might actually see that Orsted is now trying to ally himself with others, and he sees that that is something that Orsted is trying to overcome. That Orsted is overcoming the lack of his allies and people's fear of him. And he's sort of just giving him a little bit of a push there. May it be that your curse is lifted, young dragon god. Cool little thing there. Cool little wish there in the end. Again, there could be an aspect here where he does acknowledge the connection that Laplace had with Orsted. Again, Laplace, before he was split, lived amongst the demons. They respected him, didn't mess with him. The children were told not to talk back to him, basically. I can see him having a bond there. But again, unfortunately, back here, the pariah of the dragon tribe dares command me, an immortal demon, to bow to him. I guess that's the difference. He doesn't see him as a demonic dragon god. He just sees him as a dragon god. It's different. Now, there is a side of me that wonders, and this could be a stretch, but this could totally be awesome if this is the case too. Could this not be talking about the curse of the fear? I can see Body Gotti knowing a lot more than most people, because Body Gotti has been around for so long. He knows that at some point, Orsha just pops up. Because all the other dragon folk, they've been around since they came to this world. They've been around for a long time. But then out of nowhere, Orsha's here. Why? He says, Body Gotti specifically says, young dragon god. Young dragon god. They don't really make it out like these dragon gods are like having babies. I don't think they've ever implied like dragon gods just having babies here and there. Young dragon god. He's acknowledged that Orsted is young. He just pops up out of nowhere. So maybe the idea here is that Body Gotti knows that Orsted is stuck in a loop, or being forced to have to go after this man god. He's seeing it as a curse, and he's saying that may your curse be lifted, not the fear, but this goal and this duty to have to kill the man god. He can get out of this loop, out of this duty that he's stuck and forced to do. Kind of wonder. And it could be something that he also gathers from talking to the man god. Or the next morning, before the sun rose, he returned to Sharia. Between the new office currently under construction and rubble left by the old, there was makeshift accommodations where Zenoba, their acting director of construction, and the others were sleeping, all packed together. Zenoba had been a big help. Like, this whole chapter is what's going on in the entire line. This person was a lot of help. This person was a lot of help. This person was a lot of help. We just hope they can go on being the sort of friends who always had each other's backs. The same went for Orsted. On the outskirts of the town, they parted ways. Reese walked on through the streets in the morning mist. He carried presents from Verhill Kingdom, largely soy sauce. That's not presents. That's just for you. That's not presents. That's all you. It's like it's totally one of those things where you're like, hey, sweetie, I got us a new present for the family. What is it? It's a 60-inch television that I can play my video games on. That's not a present for the family. That's for you. So long as he had this soy sauce, he'd never be at a loss for what to eat again. Again, that's not gifts. That's for you. He looked around. Sharia was just as he remembered it. The people were the same. Farmers heading off for the fields, adventurers training, and a man in a robe who might have been a professor at a university. Snowdrifts lined the road. He walked on as he passed each traveler heading towards home. He went through the central square to the residential district. Seeing it made him feel nostalgic somehow. It was a street he walked down practically every day, and yet seeing it felt like he was coming home for the first time in his life. Ruiz took a shortcut down an alleyway before he seen his house. Bite was coiled tightly around the gatepost and opened it as Ruiz came close. He passed the garden. Dillo spotted him and came to rub himself against his leg. Ruiz crouched down and rubbed his head, at which he rolled over to show his belly. As Ruiz rubbed his tummy, he purred happily. He was a cute little guy. Ruiz then heard a loud noise from the entrance of the house. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. It's sort of playing it out like he's been away for like forever. And it's like, I think it's only been 2 months. I don't know, like 2 months, maybe 3 months at most. I guess it's a long time. That's technically a long time. Da-da. Lucy came running out. She came sprinting over like she was going to tackle his knees, so he crouched down to meet her. With a sizable thud, a small ball of softness and warmth threw itself into his arms. This was unusual. She was always hiding behind Sylphie. No? 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 It was like when I read that the first time, I'm like, no? I mean, we've kind of... I felt like we've sort of broken past that barrier. Like, we had a whole segment where Ruiz was playing house with her and Aisha. Like, it's not like she's hiding with Sylphie anymore. No, I think that's a oopsie from Refugian. No more. She's broken past that. Like, she was literally telling Ruiz not to leave. Like, she didn't want Ruiz to leave last time. I'm home, Lucy. I'll come back. Have you been a good girl? Yes. I've been looking after Lara and the others and see. Have you really? You're a real big sister now, aren't you? Lucy's arms squeezed even tighter around him, spurring him to pick her up. He walked up to the house with her in his arms. From inside, I forgot. I forgot. Like, it's already, like, really heartwarming right here, and then I forgot the next part. I'm like, I forgot the next part. You're gonna get me. Every time you bring her up, you get me. Refugee, every time you bring her up, you get me. He walked up to the house with her in his arms. From inside came a smell that somehow put him at ease. The familiar smell that hung around their house. Since they first bought the house, the number of inhabitants had increased. As they lived in it, it had changed, but he was so used to it that he didn't know how it smelled. But now, after coming back after a long time away, and from a rush of death no less, he felt all the tension drain from him. It was a smell that let him know he was home. Yeah, I've talked about this before, but this is so true. I've had so many times of like these long travels that have to be away, especially my last job, having to have me like go, you know, to different towns and whatnot and do a lot of data entry and whatnot, and coming back after a long time. It's a smell. Or just visiting your parents or whatever. That's in a lot of cases can get it. Like it's weird, but there's a distinct smell that each individual house has. Every house has a distinct smell, and I think it's based on what sort of cleaning solutions you use, what kind of fabric softener you use, soaps you use. Everything changes the smell of a house. Or yes, it could be as simple as some people don't clean themselves as much as other people. Some people don't clean their house as often as other people. There is a smell that people produce. And so I totally get this. You come home after a long time and you go, it's a familiar smell that you never think about when you're actually living there for a long time because you get used to it. You get used to the smell, you don't even know it smells until you leave for a little bit and come back. It is a smell of familiarity that immediately hits you and you go, I'm home. You smell it, it's familiar, I'm home. I get it. Especially when you've had a long time away. And like him, I've had the similar experience where you come home and you've been through some stuff. And you come home, you close that door behind you. It's almost like safe. It's not that it's true, but you almost feel safe. The door's closed, home, I'm safe. It's quiet. Well, not for Rudy. It's going to probably have a bunch of kids, a bunch of little runs running around screaming. Which is why I feel so bad for people that have experienced home invasions. Because it should feel safe. The moment you close that door, it should feel safe. Hello, Lilia. Hello, mother. That's fell. Damn it. As Rudy stood, filling his lungs with the smell of home, he saw Lilia and Zenith in the front of the stairs. Lilia bowed deeply when he saw him. I didn't think about this before, but I wonder... Oh. There's a side of me that wonders if Zenith got up. I could totally see them being in a room or something like that, talking or doing something or sewing or whatever. And then Zenith sensed him. Zenith heard his thoughts and said, we gotta go, Lilia. In my own headcanon, I think Zenith stood up and walked down those stairs. My son's home. Let's go. Let's go, Lilia. Lilia bowed deeply when she saw him. Welcome home, Master. Thank you for looking after the house while I was gone, Lilia. Not at all, Master. I'm so glad to see you're safely home. It'll be a little longer before Norn and Aisha come back. Thank you for letting me know. Oh, but I'm glad you're safe. When the Dragon God's residence on the outskirts of the city was attacked, I was beside myself with worry. I'm so glad. So very glad. Damn it. Lilia put her hand over her mouth, as though she couldn't hold back any longer. She started weeping. She tried so hard to just talk. I'm sorry I made you worry. Reese had no means of contacting her, so there was nothing he could have done. It did make sense that, after the company he was working for was crushed by a rival company, she would have been beside herself. And in truth, things could have easily turned out as she'd feared. And not only for Rudius, any of the others might have failed to come back after that fight. Rudius had done everything he could to ensure everyone did come home. But it was a miracle that none of the people that he cared most about had died. There shouldn't be another big battle like this one for a while. So please, don't worry anymore. That's good. I'm so very sorry you had to see me go into pieces like this. Lilia, it's okay. Lilia, it's okay. Damn it, Lilia. Let it show. Rias noticed Zenith was rubbing Lilia's back. Had he made Zenith worry too? She seemed to have lost her negative emotions, but he thought she'd at least worry about him. She was that sort of person. I'm home. Reese took a step into the house. It finally felt like his long battle with geese was over. And that is Mushoku Tensei. That is the end of this series. Oh, we gotta have Reese get banging and all that kind of stuff. Oh, I'm gonna get Reese banging again. We're not done yet. Reese gotta be banging first. But yeah, I love this. I love seeing how emotional Lilia gets here. Again, this lady just does not want to show it. She just does not want to show it. I'm supposed to serve you, master. I'm supposed to serve you. Can't show that emotion. Can't help it. It was the day after the end of the battle that it really had sunk in, and Ruius couldn't relax. The battle with geese was over, which was to say, the contract Ruius had made to himself was over too. You know full well what that meant. Yes, you gotta bang. I'm not. I didn't miss Thirsty Rudius. I've never really been a massive fan of Thirsty Rudius. It's funny now and then, but I don't miss it. So yeah, it's like, oh, that's right. Rudius used to do this stuff all the damn time. And it's so sad. I'm not gonna get into it now. I'm gonna get into it later. It's so sad. The battle had gone on for so long that this way of life had started to feel natural to Rudius. But early that morning, his little guy started to reassert himself. Talk about an insistent reminder. His name was Rudius Greyrat, son of Paul Greyrat, which meant treachery. From below his belt was part of his DNA. He put Rudius Jr. through a long period of hardship and endurance. That was what enabled him to do his best. As the first Rudius, it was his duty to see he was repaid. He fulfilled his side of the contract. Before the sun had risen, he got out of bed, went downstairs, and headed to the front door. There he found Leo and Edis. Rudius, you're up early. Morning, Edis. Where's everyone? All safe. Not that. I mean, what are they doing? Edis thought for a moment. Lily and Sylphie, they're making breakfast. And Roxy and the children and your mother are still asleep. I just finished training, so I was just about to go for a run. Right. Looks like you got a full... Here's the status report. Here's where we're at. Don't worry, Reese. I got him handled. Edis just got down. Edis was even more tore up in Rudius, and she's already back up on her feet. Rudius took Edis's hand. She squeezed his fingers. Maybe because she'd been training, but her hands were warm. He also noticed her face was a little flushed. What? Edis, let's take the day off. Right, okay. The way she said okay sounded like she guessed what he had in his mind. Maybe it was on his face. Sorry, Leo, but no walk for now. Ruff. Leo looked disappointed, but also gave his hand a lick before going back into the house. Rudius followed him inside, still holding Edis's hand, and headed for the kitchen. Lilia and Sylphie stood beside each other cooking. Sylphie. Oh, good morning, Rudy. You're up early. Good morning, master. Both smiled before Rudius turned to Sylphie. Sylphie, let's take the day off. What? I don't mind. But when you say day off, she looked quizzically, but Lilia seemed to catch on right away. Very well. I'll finish up breakfast, Miss Sylphie. Sylphie's face went red. Oh, that's what you mean. She smiled shyly. Then Maurice took her hand. Maybe it was because she'd wet her hands from cooking, but her fingers were a little cold. When you said it, Rudy, the look on your face looked so normal I didn't realize it. Did you see it straight away, Edis? I just sort of knew. Like having a competition over who knows what his face says. Lilia, please watch the children until lunchtime. Oh, and let's all go to eat tonight. Very well, master. She smiled like she had seen right through his plans, though she seemed a little embarrassed. Yeah, she wants to join in, Rudius. Let her join in, Rudius. It was a bit late for that. They then headed for the children's bedroom. Rudius quietly opened the door and peeked inside. 4 kids were sound asleep. Lucy, Lotta, Otis, and Sieg. Leo was curled up in the corner, watching over them. In the battle, Rudius had worried so much about his family. I like how he gets home. He got a nice little reunion with Lucy, which was super cute. But it's like, cut forward, let's have happy time. I like the kids, though. I really care about my kids, but I need to make whoopee. I mean, we're spending this entire segment right here talking about how he's going to bang, and it's like, what about the other kids? Does he not care about any of these kids? Are we going to have some moments with the kids? Anyways, despite his fears, all was peaceful here. Unless some battles had taken place at the house, unbeknownst to him, and Leo had protected him. I wouldn't doubt that. I could see that happen probably a lot. Anyways, after checking on the children for well, cut over. Then he went upstairs to Roxy's room. In the interest of good manners, he knocked. A few seconds later, he heard a voice. Yes. He opened the door and saw Roxy, her eyes blurry with sleep. Her hair was rumpled, and there was drool marks around her mouth. Her nightgown hung open at the front, so he can almost see inside. Very sexy. Oh, Rudy, good morning. It's so early. Did something... Good morning, Roxy. I thought we were going to take the day off. What do you think? Roxy stared blankly. then seemed to work out what that meant. Toying with her sleep-tousled bangs, her cheeks turned red. Well, I don't mind, but her gaze went... I laughed so hard when I read this. Her gaze went to one of the two women he was holding hands. You know it's Edis. You know it's Edis. Did Edis agree to this? Did you ask your husband? Did you ask your husband if you're allowed to bang? Rudius turned to Edis. Her face was red, and she looked a bit shell-shocked. Yeah, Edis, he literally gave you the keys. At some point, he literally gave her the keys, like, yeah, if I do anything, you get to beat the snot out of me. Well, she chose it. I was just about to ask her, Edis, I'd like to go back to my bedroom with the four of us. Is that okay with you? Edis seemed to understand. Her face went even redder, and then she pursed her lips. She would have probably struck her favorite pose if her hand was free. Well, I suppose, if you really want to. Rudius apologized and thought. He just wanted to treat himself a little today. He bid farewell to Rudius the celibate. Thank you. He didn't just say it because Edis had given Roxy permission. He was saying it to all three of them for everything they had done to support him up until now. He was so thankful that he hadn't lost any of them. Geese and Bodigadi had both said it was over for now. The man god would never bother him anymore. He didn't believe a word of it. The man god would be his enemy for as long as he lived. But today, he relax and do absolutely nothing, not a thing. Rest. Get back his strength for tomorrow and spend a day in peace. To remind himself that he could still laugh. And no, that was a joke. He was going to get laid. From day on, he was Rudius the Free. It felt good. With that, he went to the bedroom. That's chapter 4. Which, yes, does lead into story 1, The Final Dream. I'm super mixed about the next chapter, and I wasn't really sure if I'd be able to get to the next chapter in this recording, which doesn't look like I am. That's fine. Because the next chapter and the one after that, I think, are super short. I'm pretty sure story 2, I haven't edited it yet, might be as short as story 1. So this might actually do better together. But again, I could probably record story 1 and end up being super long. We'll see. We'll see as usual. But yeah, solid chapter. Again, the wind down, really super solid. Really cool stuff around Bodigadi, wrapping up everything around the actual battle itself, getting into Orsted and Alec and their relationship going forward. Just a good wrap up, a good kind of get back home sort of situation here. But yeah, I kind of wish it would spend a little more time with him. I don't know, seeing his family and not just building up to him banging. But again, I've never cared for that stuff. I understand it though. I fully understand it. I mean, I would be doing that. Picture was super cute though. Roxy, my gosh, I forgot about that. The moment I got that insert image with Roxy, I had to cut it out. I gotta cut that out. I kind of want to use it for a thumbnail, but I probably can't. But yeah, a super cute picture of sleepy Roxy. But anyways, that's it for this Mushoku Monday. Thank you guys for so much for dropping by for the premiere. Hey chat, hope you guys enjoyed this Mushoku Monday. I actually had to record half of this Mushoku Monday twice, so I'm super tired right now. But I greatly appreciate your guys' support. It's your guys' kind words and all that kind of stuff that really keeps me going. It fuels me. Your guys' support fuels me, and I greatly, greatly appreciate it. But as per usual, greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel monetarily through Patreon, tips, links, super thanks, memberships. That stuff means a massive, massive deal to me. Thank you guys so much. I cannot express that enough. It means so much to me that you guys part with your hard-earned money specifically to support what I do here. It's amazing. You guys are so fantastic. But yeah, as per usual, until the next Mushoku Monday, which I hopefully when I record that, I'll figure out my feelings on because I'm super mixed on it. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for Andrew being extremely mixed on how he feels about a chapter. Till next time, y'all take care. Reese was just indebted. Reese was just indebted to because of his immoral demon plug. Plug?
Using a little mana doesn't worsen things, especially. Anyways,
They'd won, but the man god had satisfied. Oh, yes. What do you need me for?
Oh yes. What do you need me for?
It's one of those moments where I don't know who's starting to talk. What did you need me? What did you need me for? Oh yes. What did you need me for?
There was a time that our enemy